Karlsson finally got traded, Joe, and it's not to the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm okay with this. Ends up going to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a deal. This was announced yesterday morning. Penguins acquired Erik Karlsson, forward Rem Pitlick, and forward Dylan Hemliuk, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, and a 2026 third-round draft pick in a 3-team trade involving the San Jose Sharks and the Montreal Canadiens. So, essentially, the San Jose Sharks continue their rebuild by dealing guys, and the Pittsburgh Penguins end up getting the guy that a lot of Hurricanes fans had been obsessing over this offseason in Erik Karlsson, who's a defenseman that has offensive abilities the Canes have been desperate to get.
Yeah, I don't think it's a shock here to say that Tom Dundon probably had no problem paying Erik Karlsson the $11.5 million this year.
Yeah.
Maybe even next year. But he's definitely not interested in paying him $12 million when the guy's 37 years old.
Nope.
And I think that's what this comes down to.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't a great deal for San Jose.
No.
Neither was their Timo Meier deal that they made during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Those were two major chips that they dealt. And you're looking at it, and their GM was talking about cap flexibility.
It's a wrap when that
and
becomes
I'm like,
a thing. Yeah.
Oh, well, we got this great asset because the pick they got a first round pick effectively from Pittsburgh, but it's top 10 protected. So it's like, what did you really get? You got out of his contract. And they're also paying 13%, which some people had said they could have afforded to pay more of Karlsson's contract than they would have gotten more in return. But actually the contracts that they get back from Montreal and Pittsburgh in this deal for this year at least is more than what they would have had to pay Karlsson. So it's a curious move by San Jose. This is not like your traditional tear it down and build it back up with these great assets. Like, I don't love the deal for San Jose. I do love the deal for Pittsburgh though.
Sure.
Particularly because when you have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and you're going, oh, we've won this thing 3 times, 4 times with Sid.
Yeah.
You're like, we have a chance to win another.
And you're going to double down on a superstar. You're going to do what you can.
And defense be damned, right?
So about the defense. So there's a couple things that are playing here with the Carolina Hurricanes. And I do think it's a residual from the trade deadline last season. And the Canes were viewed as a team to have this window. They had contracts that in the future are going to come due.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at Brett Pesce, for instance, or Brady Shea. And the Canes were adamant about, no, we like this group. We don't want a rental. We're not going to sell out the future just to win now. And then that extended itself after the exit and how they talked at the beginning of the offseason. I mean, we talked to Tom Dundon early in this process, and he was very much about, let's run it back.
Yep.
And so far, they've been kind of on pace to what they've told you they're going to do. They said they were going to get the Sebastian Aho deal done. They did it. Good. I think ultimately it looks pretty good for the Canes. Same with Jordan Staal, right? They weren't going to let Jordan Staal finish his career somewhere else. They managed to do this in a way that helps because of the under 35 contract stipulation. So they'll end up not being on the hook for a lot of this money in the future when Jordan Staal eventually decides to call it a career. So this is what the Canes look like they're doing, and I don't necessarily hate it. They truly believe that they made the moves they needed to make in the offseason last year, and then injuries happened, and they still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. All things considered, right? So they are counting on Andrei Svechnikov to finally be healthy. They're counting on Sebastian Aho's development into a leader to continue to pay off. They still feel that Jordan Stahl's got something in the tank. And defensively, Erik Karlsson, I'm not sure. I mean, if you're giving up Brady Shea, or if you're giving up Brett Pesce, I'm talking about his dad, what do you think actually helps the Canes more this year? A defense that's already strong enough in what they have, or bringing on Erik Karlsson, who has a lot of contractual baggage? It's entirely possible that they are just going to let it run its course with Pesce and let it get to the end of the term of the contract. Or maybe they'll reassess at the trade deadline. Because here's my question, where they've been adamant about not doing rentals. If you know that it burned you in the past and you've got Pesce and you know you're not going to be able to afford him in the future, is he the bargaining chip at the trade deadline to bring on somebody that you ultimately need? I think the Canes are in a really interesting position, and I'm glad they've handled it the way they've handled it rather than trying to, quote unquote, win an offseason, which I think Carolina Hurricanes fans are ultimately, not all Hurricanes fans, I want to be adamant about this. There's a vocal group of people on social media that had it in their head they were going to get these guys from Tarasenko to Karlsson. We're going to bring all these guys. We're going to get the super team. We're making the moves. And they haven't. And the only real big deal they did was the Orlov deal. And of course,
I think Bunning was a good deal too.
That was a good deal too. But my point is, I like what the Canes have done, and it does give them the flexibility in the season that if they ultimately do want to make a move, it'll happen.
And don't forget Teravainen.
Yes.
So you got Teravainen, Shea, and Pesce are guys in their last year of their deals before they're unrestricted free agents. They also have the time to trade them would be now. To your query about will they make a move at the deadline, we've seen them be hesitant to make moves at the deadline. But the thing we know about the Canes is they're going to identify someone's value, and obviously, Pesce and Shea, their value is about to go way up from what they're making right now.
Yes,
so that's understood, and I think the new agent for Pesce understands that as well. But I have confidence in the Canes that they will find players to replace them. If those three players are not on the team for the next season, that's fine. And if they feel like they're in the best position this year with those three guys to make a run, I think they've earned the right and the benefit of the doubt that those are going to be the best decisions for the team.